Okay, so picture this.
Mm-hmm.
A Nollywood film crew out on a late night shoot.
Mm-hmm.
Their bus is speeding down this dark Nigerian road.
Oh, wow.
And suddenly, bam!
Oh my God.
Tires blow out, gunshots, a robbery. Like something straight out of an action flick.
Wow.
Except this was real.
Oh no.
This actually happened back in 2005.
Wow.
And it shows just how vulnerable film productions can be.
Yeah.
Especially in a fast-growing market like Nollywood.
Right.
So that's why we're diving deep into film insurance today.
Lights, camera, action.
Welcome back to Successful Filmmaker. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something that a lot of filmmakers don't always think about at first. But it can really save you, especially if you're working in a place like Nollywood. It's film insurance.
Ah, yes.
So picture this. You're on a film set in Nigeria. Lights, cameras, action. But then something happens that you didn't plan for.
It's so easy to get caught up in all the excitement of making a film.
Right.
You forget about the other side of things,
Yeah.
the business side of things, and protecting yourself and the people you're working with.
Exactly.
That's where film insurance is so important.
Okay, so can you kind of just break down what is film insurance for listeners who might not be familiar?
Yeah, it's basically a safety net.
Yeah.
It helps you manage all the financial risks and the things that can go wrong
Oh.
legally during production.
Okay, so it's like a backup plan in case things go wrong.
Exactly.
And let's be real, things can go wrong on any film set. I mean, it doesn't matter where you are in the world.
Absolutely.
Filmmaking has risks.
It does, everywhere. You've got expensive equipment you're moving around. Logistics are always tricky. Accidents.
People.
Yeah, all those kinds of things. And even legal problems sometimes.
Right.
Film insurance helps you kind of get ahead of those things, and it protects you and gives you peace of mind.
Yeah, and I think, speaking of things going wrong,
Yeah.
you had a story you wanted to share with us, something that happened.
Oh, yeah, this is a wild one.
Yeah.
So this actually happened back in 2005.
Okay.
It shows you just how unexpected things can be on a film set.
Yeah.
There was a bus full of people, a film crew, and some really famous musicians, actually.
Wow.
Oliver DeCoke, Oritz Waliki, Deli Abiadun.
Wow, big names.
Yeah, all on this bus, huge talent. And they were driving back from a shoot in Nigeria, and they had to swerve off the road suddenly.
Oh, God.
Tires burst, gunshots.
Oh, my God.
It turned out to be a whole gang of armed robbers.
Wow, that's terrifying. I can't imagine being on that bus. I mean, what happened?
Well, they made everyone lie down, took everything. Cameras, all the equipment, the raw footage they shot, valuables. It was really devastating.
Emotionally and financially, I imagine.
Yeah, and it just makes you think, like, what if they had film insurance?
Yeah, would that have helped?
It could have maybe softened the blow a little bit.
Yeah. I think that's something that a lot of filmmakers don't think about.
Mm-hmm.
Especially, like, if you're working on a limited budget, you're just trying to get your film done. Insurance maybe seems like an extra thing.
Yeah, a luxury.
Yeah.
But honestly, film insurance is more of a necessity these days,
Yeah.
especially with the way Nollywood is growing. I
Right.
mean, the Nigerian Entertainment Conference, they're saying by 2025, Nollywood could be worth almost $15 billion.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah, huge. So you really have to think about managing risk effectively. It's an investment in your film success, but also in the whole industry.
Yeah. So it's not just about your individual project, but also the whole future of Nollywood.
Exactly. You're trying to build this culture of professionalism, of being smart with your resources, and that's how the whole industry can thrive.
Okay, well, let's get into then the specifics,
Yeah.
like the benefits of having film insurance.
Okay, sure.
Like, what are some of the things that filmmakers should really know?
The most important one is protecting your people, your cast and crew. That's your most valuable thing, right?
Mhm.
Making sure that they have medical coverage, especially if there are accidents
Right.
or injuries on set, if you're doing stunts or working in a tricky location.
I mean, it makes me think about that actor from Nollywood, Junior Pope, who died in a boat accident while they were filming.
Oh, that's right. Yes,
It's just a reminder how real the danger is.
definitely.
You have to have that medical coverage.
It's non-negotiable.
Right,
And then there's your equipment.
right.
Think about the cost of replacing a camera if it gets damaged, or a lighting rig or anything like that.
Right.
It's a lot. Equipment insurance will cover you if it's lost or damaged or stolen.
Yeah, especially if you're filming like out in a market in Lagos.
Yeah. Busy places.
Anything can happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And so then I think about when you're out in public like that, There are other things too, right? That, like, what if you bump into somebody?
Yeah, that's where public liability insurance is so important.
Right.
Because let's say you're filming a chase scene in that market.
Yeah.
You might knock over someone's stuff. You might accidentally hurt somebody.
Yeah.
Public liability insurance will cover you for that. You're protected.
Okay.
You can address those situations responsibly.
And that just gives you peace of mind too, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that if something does happen,
You're covered.
yeah,
It's taken care of.
you can focus on your film.
Exactly.
Okay. And then there's this thing called E&O, Errors and Omissions Insurance. I don't know much about that one. What is that exactly?
Okay, so as more people around the world see Nollywood films, you know they're becoming more international.
Yeah.
The chances of legal challenges increase. E&O insurance protects you from claims about the stuff in your film.
Okay.
So, for example, imagine there's a character in your film and it's based on a real person,
Mm-hmm.
and they think that you've damaged their reputation.
Right.
Or let's say you use a song in your film, but you didn't clear the copyright. You might get sued.
Right.
E&O will cover those legal costs.
So in a way, it's protecting your creative freedom as a filmmaker.
Exactly.
You can tell your story,
Yeah.
and you don't have to worry about getting sued.
Exactly.
Okay, so we talked about cast and crew, medical coverage, equipment insurance, public liability, and this E&O. These seem like they're really important for anyone making a film.
Absolutely.
But are there any other kinds of insurance that are really important for a place like Nollywood specifically?
That's a great question. You know, a lot of these things are essential across the board, but Nollywood filmmakers should also think about things that are specific to Nollywood.
Right.
For example, since a lot of filming happens outdoors.
Yeah, a lot of action.
Yeah, and action sequences, you might want to think about getting insurance for vehicle stunts or hazardous environments.
Oh, okay.
You have to adapt your insurance to where you are.
Right, so it's really about understanding what's unique about Nollywood and getting the right coverage for that.
Exactly. You have to think about the nuances of the industry and what the most likely risks are.
That makes sense. So let's get into now each of these different kinds of insurance
Okay.
and how they actually work for filmmakers, especially in a place like Nollywood.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so let's just start going through each one of these different policies,
Okay.
starting with cast and crew medical coverage.
All right.
Can you give our listeners an example of what that might look like in a Nollywood production?
Okay, so imagine you're filming, one of those big musical scenes that Nollywood's known for.
Yeah.
Lots of dancers, lots of energy. And then one of the dancers, takes a tumble, sprains an ankle. That's when you really need this coverage because it makes sure that they can see a doctor, get treatment, maybe even physiotherapy if they need it. And that protects the dancer, but it also protects the production.
Right, because if they're hurt, they can't work.
Exactly.
And you have to shut down.
Yeah. And those costs can really add up.
Yeah, especially if it's a more serious injury than a sprained ankle.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's take a deep dive into that right after this.
This podcast is brought to you by WakaCast.
Connecting talents and creators in Africa.
So let's move on to equipment insurance. Now, we all know how expensive filmmaking equipment is,
Oh, yeah.
especially for independent filmmakers.
It's a huge investment.
Cameras, lenses,
Lights.
lighting,
Sound.
sound. Yeah. So equipment insurance then is protecting you in case.
In case something happens to all that expensive gear.
Yeah.
Damaged, lost, stolen. It can be a real setback for your budget if you don't have it. Especially like we were saying before, if you're filming in a really busy place,
Right.
like a market.
Yeah, like a market.
Lots of people around.
Yeah.
Accidents happen. Things get bumped. Things get taken.
Yeah. And that actually brings up the point about filming in public spaces. And I know we talked about this before, but public liability insurance. Why is that so important?
So public liability is there to protect you if something happens during your shoot and it affects the public. So let's go back to that chase scene we were talking about.
Okay.
That market in Lagos.
Yeah.
You're running through, you bump into someone, they fall down, you knock over their fruit stand or something.
Right.
It's an accident, but they might sue you.
Yeah.
Public liability insurance will help cover the costs.
So it's not just protecting yourself, but also like the people around you.
Exactly. It's about taking responsibility, being a good neighbor.
Okay. And then E&O insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Errors and omissions. That one I think is a little bit more complicated.
It is a bit more complicated.
Can you break that down for us in terms of like what it means for Nollywood specifically?
Sure. So as Nollywood films are reaching more people around the world,
Okay.
they're getting bigger audiences.
More international audiences?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That also means there's more risk of legal problems.
Sorry.
E&O insurance is there to protect you from anything related to the content of your film,
Okay.
like what's in the story.
Yeah.
So let's say you have a character in your film that's based on a real person, and that person sees the film and they say, hey, that's me, and they're making me look bad.
Right.
They could sue you for defamation or something.
Wow.
Or let's say you use music in your film that you didn't get permission to use.
Right.
Someone could sue you for copyright infringement.
Okay.
E&O insurance would help cover your legal costs in situations like that.
So it's really about protecting your creative freedom. You know, you're making a film, you're telling a story, and this protects you.
Absolutely. It helps you feel more confident and focused on the story.
Yeah. Okay. So we've gone through those 4 main types of insurance. But I'm wondering, are there specific challenges that Nollywood filmmakers face?
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges is actually finding the right insurance company. You need someone who really understands Nollywood.
Yeah. So not just any insurance agent will do.
No, not really. You need someone who knows the film industry.
Okay.
And specifically knows how things work in Nollywood. They need to understand the types of productions that are happening, the locations, the challenges that are unique to Nigeria.
So they're speaking your language.
Exactly.
Okay, so besides specialization, what else should filmmakers look for?
You really need an insurance company that's good at communication. They should be willing to answer your questions, make things clear for you, and explain everything in plain English.
Because insurance stuff can be really complicated.
It can be very confusing, lots of jargon. You need someone who can break it down for you.
So you really have to build a relationship with this company.
It's a partnership, just like any other relationship on your film set.
Right.
You choose your director carefully, you choose your cinematographer carefully, choose your insurance company carefully. Find someone who understands your vision.
Okay, so let's say I've found an insurance company. What's the next step?
Talk to them about your project. Tell them everything. What kind of film are you making? Where are you shooting? What equipment are you using?
And any risks that you can think of.
Exactly.
Okay.
Be as detailed as possible. That way they can figure out what kind of coverage you need, and they can give you a quote.
So it's almost like you're pitching your film to them.
It kind of is like a pitch. You're showing them that you're serious,
Yes.
that you're a professional, and that you're thinking about protecting your investment.
And I guess that brings up another question. How much insurance do I need?
That's a big one. And it really depends on your film. If you're making a small indie film with a tiny budget, you won't need the same level of insurance as a big action film.
Right.
It's not one size fits all. So that's why talking to an insurance expert is so important. They can help you figure out what makes sense for your specific project and your budget.
Okay, that's good to know. So it sounds like film insurance really is for everyone.
It really is. It's not just for the big studios.
Yeah.
Every filmmaker should think about it.
Yeah.
No matter how big or small your film is.
Right. Because you're protecting your vision ultimately.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, well, this has been so helpful.
Right.
I think we've learned a lot about film insurance.
Mm-hmm.
But before we wrap up, I want to go back to that story you told us earlier about the robbery.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think insurance could have made a difference in that situation?
Well, we can't know for sure, of course, but the right insurance could have definitely helped them recover. Think
Yeah.
about it. They lost all of their camera equipment.
Right, which is really expensive.
Yeah. Equipment insurance would have covered that, so they could have replaced it and kept filming.
Okay. And then they also lost all that footage.
Yes, they did. And that's something you can't really put a price on. You can't get that back. But some insurance policies actually have coverage for reshoots. So that could have helped.
So at least they could have recreated some of what they lost.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about having that safety net to catch you when you fall.
Yeah. And being able to keep telling your story.
That's what it's all about.
Okay, so it sounds like film insurance is not just about money.
No, it's not.
It's about protecting your passion.
Yeah. Your creativity, your future as a filmmaker.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Okay, so we've talked a lot about how important film insurance is. But for a filmmaker who's listening to this for the first time,
Yeah.
where do they even begin? Like, how do they know what kind of insurance to get?
Yeah, that's a great question. It can feel overwhelming, but The first thing you want to do is find some insurance providers who really know film.
Okay, so not just like your average insurance agent.
Right.
Someone who specifically works with film productions.
Yeah, you want specialists, people who've worked with other filmmakers, ideally even Nollywood productions, or at least independent films.
Okay, so they know the world you're coming from.
Yeah.
So what else should filmmakers look for besides that?
Communication. Really good communication. You want an insurance provider that's easy to talk to. They should be able to explain everything clearly.
Yeah, because like we said before, insurance can get complicated.
Oh, it can be so confusing.
Yeah.
You need someone who can break it down for you. Make it simple.
So you want someone who speaks your language.
Exactly.
Okay. So once I've found a couple of potential providers, what's the next step?
All right. So you've done your research. Now it's time to reach out to these companies. And tell them about your film. Give them all the details. What's the story about?
Where are you filming?
Yeah, what kind of equipment are you using?
What are some of the risks that you're thinking about?
Exactly. The more information you give them, the better.
Okay.
That way they can assess your needs, they can see what kind of coverage you need, and give you an accurate quote.
Okay, so it's almost like pitching your film again.
It kind of is. You're pitching to the insurance company now, showing them that you're professional, that you're serious about this project.
And that you're being responsible.
Exactly. You want to protect your film.
And I guess that brings up another question. How much is all of this going to cost? How much insurance do I really need?
Well, it really varies. It depends on your film.
Okay.
How big is your budget? What are you doing in the film?
So a small film won't need as much insurance as like a big blockbuster film.
No. And that's why you need to talk to those insurance experts. They can help you figure out what's right for you, what fits your budget.
Okay, that's good to know. I feel like a lot of filmmakers, especially new filmmakers, might think insurance is just for the big studios.
Yeah, but that's not true at all. Film insurance is for everybody. Every filmmaker should think about it, big or small.
Yeah.
Because in the end, it's about protecting your passion, your vision for the film.
Right. That's really well said. So I think we've covered a lot of ground today. Can we just kind of recap the main points about film insurance?
Okay, so the most important thing to remember is that filmmaking has risks. It's just part of the process.
But film insurance is there to help you manage those risks.
Exactly. It's a safety net.
We talked about different types of insurance.
Yeah, for your cast and crew.
Their equipment.
Protecting you when you're filming in public.
And protecting your film from any legal problems.
And we said, find an insurance provider who understands filmmaking.
Yeah, especially in Nollywood.
Yeah.
Someone who can communicate clearly with you, someone you can trust.
Absolutely. Ask questions.
Be proactive.
Make sure you understand what you're getting.
Because film insurance is an investment.
It's an investment in your dream,
Yeah.
your passion for filmmaking.
I love that. So as we wrap up today, I want to say thank you to our expert
It was my pleasure.
for breaking down this really important topic. And to all of our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on Successful Filmmaker. I hope this deep dive has been helpful. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, and keep making those films.
Okay, cut. That's a wrap.